Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Costa Rica Crypto. Today I am chatting with somebody who was actually recently turned on to. It was just kind of one of those things where I was on Telegram and somebody had said, hey, you got to check out this project. And the project is called Tundra X. I'm chatting with Sky today, and at first I read, I kind of read about it, and it wasn't until I pulled open the white paper that I really kind of became excited about what you're doing, Sky. So I just want to welcome you, and I'm glad to have you here, man. Thanks so much for chatting with me today.
Thank you. Yeah, pleasure to be here. Pleasure to get a little bit limelight on our project here that we've been working so hard up on.
It's cool, man. Like an exchange that's also a DAC, right? Like that's one of the coolest projects I've heard of so far. Before we get into this, though, I don't want to go too far. I think kind of the viewers tend to want to know a little bit about the man behind the scenes, or one of them thereof. Just talk to us a little bit. Like, where'd you grow up? What's your background? How did you find EOS?
Sure. Yeah. So I really, to be honest, I grew up in a broken system. I lived in over 37 different foster homes growing up, and it really showed me a lot of what's wrong and what's going on. It gave me a skill set, though, that I feel like I really could accomplish anything in life. It's really thrown a lot of challenges at me, and given me a lot of experience to deal with real world problems, and really sparked a passion inside me to help change things, make a difference in the world. As far as my background, I got into commercial loans when I was 19 years old. I was a commercial loan officer for Worldwide Investment Corporation back around 2008, maybe one of the worst times to get into that industry. But it taught me a lot about modern money mechanics, money creation, our global financial infrastructure, and a lot of things that could be improved. That's also a very broken system. And so, I'm just trying to do my part to help fix some of these things. As far as how I got into tech and eventually EOS, I started mining Bitcoin back in 2013, back when it was like just around $250 Bitcoin, right when the Terra Miner Forest just came out. And, they were all back ordered in China. So I actually hired a computer scientist to help me build out these miners. And, oh man, it was quite the adventure. I made a bunch of money, lost a bunch of money, mountains and valleys. That's what life is really about. But I kind of took a break from it for a while there. We really went out into the mountains for a bit, and got in tune with nature, did some farming and stuff. And it wasn't until I learned about Nexus Earth and Nexus Coin that I got back involved into crypto, and learning about Colin Cantrell and what he's doing with that project over there. I went to the Nexus Coin conference last year, and met a lot of people involved with that scene. Was hanging out with Ron Paul and Jesse Ventura, and they were talking about real freedom and what it's going to take to end the Fed, and all these big, huge, major issues going on in the world. And Patrick Barnes was their CEO with Overstock.com, and I was talking to him a little bit about his decentralized exchange platform T0 that he was building, and it really inspired me. It really got me interested in how to build decentralized applications on the Ethereum network. And when I started looking into it, at 37 transactions a second, I just knew it did not have the throughput. And when EOS came along, you know, I was really excited. Yeah, I really love EOS. Really love, you know, what the team's doing. Love what Dan Laramere has put together, and everything he's done thus far has been really awesome.
That's a killer introduction, man. And it's funny because some of the most beautiful things in life are born from tragedy, right? And adversity, pressure makes diamonds, man. So I get it. I get it. And then the fact that you're kind of, you know, that you're building this project out of not only an interest, but something that's kind of inherent inside of you and your ability to your desire to affect change. That's cool, man. And like I said, I've been through your white paper inside and out. Checked out the entire project. I love it. Very different than what we're traditionally doing, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I was like, yes, I have to talk to this guy. So I'm stoked that I get the chance to speak to you today, man, about that.
Yeah, it's insane.
I guess before we move on, like, Sky, what do you do when you're not, you know, building projects and trying to restore the world through decentralization? What do you guys do for fun?
Oh man, you know, I'm a big fan of music, of creation, of art. I love going to festivals. You know, I love seeing live music. I'm a musician myself. I play drums, piano, guitar, ukulele, do a bit of music production. That's really where I got my start. Playing with computers was in music production.
That's cool, man. Just it's funny the way everything kind of unfolds exactly as it should, right?
Yeah.
So I don't even know where to start with this beast, man. You know, talk about like bringing the heat to exchanges. I think this is a really cool project. So many features. I'm going to link to the white paper and all that kind of stuff below, which I think is a really cool read. I was just
from System UI Server.
I was just talking to you. What is that?
Oh, sorry. That's my computer talking to me.
It's all good, man. Anyway,
throw it on the charger real quick. Sorry for the interruption.
No, it's cool. I like it. I like it casual anyway, so it's all good, man. I'm gonna link to your white paper below, but I had this really cool chat with you the other day, and it was like when you expressed the idea to me, you know, you talked about like it came from a dream. Like, let's talk about kind of the beginning and the, you know, where did Tundra X, the exchange, come from? Like, how did that manifest itself to you?
Yeah. That's a great question, man. You know, I'm not going to get too much into the story of the dream. I think that's like a really long story. I mean, if anyone's curious, they could go ahead and email me. I'll leave my personal email. You guys can ask me about that one. But initially, you know, I was thinking about cold storage and you know, how that's such a valuable way to protect our digital assets. And I wanted it to be a core function of TundraX. And so when I was thinking of the name, I was thinking of something cold. You know, I was thinking of, you know, who our mascot could be, or I didn't want to use a polar bear. I'm not trying to manifest any bear markets here, but you know, I was thinking of penguins and glaciers and the tundra. You know, it came to me, and you know, Tundra Exchange, and so yeah, I was thinking of you know, cold penguins just kind of huddled up, exchanging in some energy, and
I love it, man. I
love that vision.
Yeah, it's cool. Another reason why I really wanted to talk to you was just because of a couple of interactions we had. I can see that you're a really interesting and intelligent guy. One of the quotes that you first shot to me, which I found really interesting, which is kind of the basis of, you know, this whole creation, was, I'm going to read it word for word here, was, "There's no need to fight any system. We can just build another one so amazing that the old one dies out of redundancy." Can you elaborate on that, my friend?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I think throughout time, there's definitely been a fight that people have been feeling. You know, everyone's felt, you know, a piece of this oppression from the central authority for forever. I mean, you know, anytime you have power, it corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And you know, in the 70s, there was a taste of freedom and peace and this whole movement, you know, that I wasn't really a part of, but that, you know, a lot of people have tuned me into. And it seemed like everyone was really fighting the war. You know, there was so much energy towards that. You know, everyone wanted change. Everyone was fighting for it. But everyone was spending all their time and energy fighting a system that's designed for war. You know, how can you beat this system that is designed for opposition? So I think that, you know, our energy is best spent towards creating something new and putting our energy together in a positive way and tuning into solutions. Like we all see the problems there. You know, it's pretty apparent if you really open your eyes and keep an open mind to what's going on out there. You know, you'll see the truth, and having everyone come together for the solutions is really what I was getting at by that statement.
Yeah, I share the common philosophy, right? You don't dedicate your power to fighting something. You don't dedicate your energy to fighting something because perhaps, depending on what your beliefs are, you know, if you believe in energy, when you put energy towards something, it attracts you towards it, as opposed to when you invest your energy into building something new and something out of love or you know, creativity, you tend to kind of pull yourself in that direction too. So stop the fighting, start the creating. I think that's really cool, man, and I love it. Let's go on to, we're going to get into the project in a lot more detail, but the DAC part, right? Decentralized Autonomous Community. I don't think that's been done for an exchange before. Where did you get the idea for that, and how'd you come up with it?
Thank you. Yeah, you know, actually, it has been done before. Yeah, Dan Laramere was the first to really put it on the map with BitShares,
Of course.
and really set the stage for, you know, how a decentralized exchange platform can exist in a way that doesn't have, you know, the central authority and such a, you know, money hungry perspective. So, you know, we have some examples to work off of. So we're not totally inventing a new wheel here, you know, but we are adding some really amazing additions and upgrades to that wheel.
For sure. I mean, community-owned exchange, and you're right, absolutely, I missed that. Of course, BitShares, I should have known better, but it's still a cool, it hasn't been done on EOS, and I think you're going to be the first to do it, and I'm looking forward to it, man. But I guess let's talk about some of these features, right? You mentioned, I'm just kind of scanning my notes here, you mentioned that you've got some new features, one of which really intrigued me and I kind of zeroed in on was the social functions, right? Like what exactly is like a social DEX, and you know, how is it all executed? How does it all work?
Yeah, sure. So DEX is you know, slang in the community for decentralized exchange. When we're talking about social, we're talking about social trading. Yep. And so if you've ever worked with anything like eToro or another one that's on Ethereum's chain is Blockport is another social exchange. It's really this idea of investing in people instead of just the digital assets that those people are trading. So it's kind of decentralizing the broker model, if you will, and allowing for people to put together people-based portfolios.
Yeah, I think that's cool. Like, can you kind of break that down a little bit more just so people understand? So you've got like, whatever, George, you love George, he's a good trader. He's got a portfolio on the site. Can you kind of follow his movements or?
Yeah. So the way people-based portfolios work is a user can go through other people's profiles who allow for the feature. You know, there's flexibility there. You can turn on your privacy if you want to, or interact with people in this social trading way, which gives people open access to see everything you're holding on to, everything that's in your bag, you know, as far as what assets you're trading and when you're trading them. You know, people can look at your risk assessment based on the volatility of those assets, and also see you know, what have your gains been for this quarter or this year? And depending on you know what they see you doing, what they see your risk assessment at, they see your gains at, they can determine themselves if they want to introduce you into their portfolio. And so if they decide to copy trade you, there is a benefit on both sides. The benefit, of course, on the person copying the trade is that they don't have to sit there at their computer all day trading. You know, they've relinquished that over to the copied trader, who also has a benefit through a little bit extra gains in his returns. There's a fee associated with this people-based portfolio function, and so anyone deciding to interact with that, you know, pays an extra 4% to the copied trader. So there's a little bit extra money made there for them.
Man, I think that's super cool, and it's also going to be beneficial for kind of some new investors. You know, to maybe follow somebody who really knows what they're doing and learn a little bit about it in the process. And of course, there's potential for the investor themselves to be able to make some extra money too. Like, I think that's really cool. I really like.
More importantly, the people who don't know anything at all. You know, that's really who we're reaching out to here. We're trying to onboard new users who are otherwise intimidated by crypto. And, you know, there's a way for them to go through the learning process of day trading and using, you know, fake money too. If you don't have any assets and you want to get your feet wet learning how to day trade, you can hop on here, start off, you know, with some fake Bitcoins that, you know, are just really placement holders in our user interface to, you know, help you learn the ropes. But also people get to see those statistics even when you're playing around. If you're playing with no money but you're still killing it at day trading, someone could come along, see you doing that, look at what you're doing, and decide to copy you. Awesome. Now you're not even using any of your own money, but because you've built up a track record, now people are deciding, nah, I'm going to throw this guy a little bit of my portfolio, see what he does with it. You know, now you're making returns on other people's money. So that's the really cool and exciting thing about it.
I love it. That's really, really neat, man. I think that's super, super cool. I read the white paper and I didn't read it. It's like, it's a long one, but it's a good one. Like, it's really well thought out. And we talked about that kind of earlier in the pre-talk. It's really well structured. Sorry, I'm messing with my eye. You got your computer talking to you. I got bugs flying into my eye. It's a madhouse here. But we talked about, in your white paper, one of the things that you talk about is that, you know, you mentioned like every major exchange hack pretty much, or not every major exchange hack, but a lot of the major ones since the beginning of crypto. And you have a strong emphasis on security. What are you doing differently that's not what the traditional exchanges are doing, or what are you doing to protect the people's assets?
Well, for starters, I've, you know, hired some of the most top-notch senior cryptographers I can find. We got Les Acker on the team, who's been, you know, building real encryption to protect data for the government for over 34 years. And, you know, people like that, having them as our security advisor is what it's really about, you know. And so some of the great advice he's given us and that we've implemented is that, you know, of course, we're using post-quantum security hashing algorithms from the SHA-3 family. But also, we're not keeping any keys in plain text form. You know, everything is always, you know, really well protected. And we use multi-signature and homomorphic encryption. You know, there's a lot of heavy encryption going on with TundraX, so it's very safe.
So let's talk decentralization, right? And the use of smart contracts in decentralized process. How would you break that down to somebody who might not have a lot of experience in the space? Like, how would you explain some of the benefits of what you're doing?
Sure. I think a good place to start is really understanding the fundamentals of blockchain and distributed node infrastructure. One example I like to use is the spider versus the starfish, where spiders are kind of like centralized systems. You know, you cut a leg off, it's not growing back. You cut the head off, it's dead. With a starfish, you cut a leg off, it's growing back a new leg. And when you're comparing these two infrastructures like that, you know, distributed networks have a redundancy that if, you know, one node is taken down or attacked, it's okay. You know, you really have to take over 2/3 of the whole network to try and do any damage. So that's really the benefit of it. And when it comes to smart contracts, you know, it's like we just mentioned earlier about corruption, you know, and anytime you have a central authority who's in charge of this one specific function that's, you know, the bottleneck and the pivotal, you know, single point of failure for something, you know, that's a security flaw, really, with what we have here instead, because, you know, by eliminating that single point of failure and you know, removing the job of a person who can be social engineered, you know, paid off, or many different scenarios there, right? Sure. Some a lot more scarier than others. But, you know, we want to prevent all those things. And that's what we're doing by implementing smart contracts. You're implementing, you know, a digital contract that is serving as the function of that role, as that judge of that person. You know,
yeah, you're removing the ability for something to go wrong by removing human consciousness, in the sense that human consciousness can be corrupted, and a smart contract.
You know, but things still go wrong. Things still do go wrong with smart contracts, as we've seen time and time again with Ethereum. You know, there's millions of dollars tied up on the Ethereum blockchain in smart contracts right now that there's no way to get that out. But with EOS, you know, this is what I love about EOS so much is, you know, the governance and what it takes, you know, to fix things. You know, there's an ability to get together with the majority of the block producers, bring them your Ricardian contract and say, hey, look, our code was supposed to do this. It didn't do this. We have all these millions of dollars tied up now in this contract. Can you guys reverse this for us, please, so that we can do what this contract was supposed to say? And so that's the upgrade I see here with EOS versus Ethereum. I mean, not only that, but, you know, many other things.
Of course, absolutely. Speed of transactions, and the list goes on, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about one thing that maybe not a lot of people, but maybe some people, some developers don't nail. Let's talk about the user experience. Now, you said you've got, you know, ultimately you'd love to have new people come onto the platform who don't know anything about trading, but they see that this guy's got a great record and he's making some, you know, it's clear, it's there, he's making some great gains. Maybe I'm going to, you know, locate a portion of my portfolio that I can, you know, I could afford to worst case scenario lose, and I'm going to hand it off to him. A lot of people forget about kind of new people coming into the space. How does Tundra X cater to both the experienced users and the new people alike through the user experience? What are you guys doing differently?
Sure, yeah. So, you know, as far as explaining what it's like for, you know, the average user who may not know anything about crypto or day trading, we really took the approach of giving them something familiar, something that they already know, and something that's easy to navigate. Which, who doesn't know how to use Facebook, right? I mean, their layout, it's almost program muscle memory for most people, where everything is at, you know, how to move through the site and move through profiles and you know, check out info on people's walls. And so we've really taken that user interface and that experience and kind of ported it over to TundraX in a way to give people some familiarity to what they already have done on a computer. And if for the person who is, you know, a very skilled day trader, someone who's, you know, using lots of tools already, you know, they're different indicators, you know, 20-day moving average, you know, Fibonacci retracement, all types of really advanced tools to read through graphs. You know, we have all of those available to anyone who possesses the skill set to use them, as well as, you know, a few others that we've been working on, and that'll be yet to be announced exactly what those tools do, but some real interesting things as far as, you know, trading bots and things that can really step your game up.
So that seems to be where kind of the social trading and people-based portfolios kind of comes together, right? It kind of comes together in the sense that people have this familiar UX that they're used to, and they can, you know, they can go, they'll see somebody's social portfolio and choose whether they want to trade them. Are there any other kind of features that I'm missing in this? Is there anything else involved with kind of social trading or people-based portfolios?
You know, yeah. One thing that I think really stands out that makes us different as far as other decentralized exchanges go is one, our liquidity, much higher liquidity. We're doing, you know, a different take on things with our atomic liquidity, which ties together multiple order books from a multitude of different exchanges, and using market makers and things to really boost up, you know, the availability for buying and selling those digital assets. Not just that, but also, you know, our customer service model, which is something that's really never been done before with anything decentralized, any type of decentralized application. And it's really interesting how our TCR customer service works.
Well, tell me, let's talk about it. What's the difference? What are you guys doing different customer service wise, sorry, tongue tied, that other people might not be doing or other exchanges aren't doing? What differentiates it?
Yeah, so you know, with a lot of decentralized exchange platforms out there, there really isn't much customer service. There's like somebody email, but who knows how long it's going to take for them to get back. You know, there's definitely no one to call. Yeah. No live representative to talk to ever. So that's really what we're doing. That's different. We're bringing live representation of our platform to the users, and that's done in a really interesting way. You know, in order to work for TundraX and our customer support as a customer service agent, there's a number of different tests that you have to take to earn the position. There's, you know, a bit of a qualification to go through, and it also requires staking a little bit of tokens there to gain access to your level 1 representation, which, you know, includes you into the most basic, you know, easy questions, easy stuff. You know, this type of individual is like just getting their feet wet in customer service, learning about, you know, how to help people out with us. So, you know, we keep it simple for them, and as they improve and get better, you know, there's customer satisfaction reports, you know, rating system. After they've earned enough rapport with customers, they qualify to meet level 2 customer service test, and so that gives them the ability to take that secondary test, stake a little bit more tokens out of some of the tokens they've just earned from being a representative, and now they're able to move up the ladder, so to speak, and, you know, make gains, make moves to, you know, increase their income. As you move up the ladder, not only do you earn more money, but you also, you know, have more respect and have gained, you know, more badges and have really proven yourself. And so it's that kind of model we're trying to implement to, you know, provide kind of this Nash equilibrium and keeping people honest through earned incentives and badges and reputation.
I love it, man. That's a really, really neat idea. I love it. So we said, of course, that it is going to be a DEX, right? And you guys do have a token, which is called the Frost token, right? I know that there's an airdrop coming up for that. What are some of the use cases, and the token economics of this Frost token? Like, how does it work? What's it going to be used for? And what are some of its functions?
Yeah, sure. So a little info on the airdrop. We're planning on doing that come Christmas.
Nice.
So Merry Christmas, everyone. Going to be giving that away for free. And yeah, the use cases for it, I mean, of course it's used, you know, to pay fees for the operation of the exchange for the duration of trades. You know, there's a 0.2% on the maker side and a 0.2% on the taker side that is paid in the Frost tokens. But you know, as far as how the life cycle goes of the Frost token, to operate our sidechain deployment framework, which is a decentralized node infrastructure via complements of EOS Bake. That operation runs in a way where you know, there's a series of nodes, 21, and the life cycle is a little bit similar to EOS in the function of how those nodes are incentivized to provide the infrastructure for the back end of Tundra X.
It's a ton of, I love the ideas, man. It's an interesting project you have going on. I guess you guys ultimately, in order to create such a system, are going to need a certain amount of governance, right? What have you guys done differently with the governance within Tundra X that might not exist within other exchanges, or just is something different?
Sure, yeah. So, you know, EOS really, we've taken a lot of the governance model that they've implemented as far as, you know, really keeping things to the recording contract and letting that really speak the voice of what the code is meant to do. So in the advent of, you know, any mistakes or, you know, anything going wrong on the exchange, there is an ability to, you know, voice that to the platform and maybe get some reversals or, you know, some things like that. So it allows for mistakes, really. I mean, mistakes happen. That's life. So, you know, I think one thing that's really been tough about decentralized exchange platforms is, like, when something goes wrong, they're just kind of like, hey, sorry, that was the code. There's nothing we could do about it. I've had it happen to me. I actually was on an exchange platform, DexDex. I had bought only 27 EOS, but it was like the last 27 EOS on the platform, and they had an automated market maker order book system that, you know, the first couple tokens were at the price that I needed them at. I think I was buying in at like $11 or $12, something like that. Yeah. And but towards the end there, though, because of the scarcity in their order books, it's the last 27. In order to fill the rest of these tokens, it had to pull from other people's you know, sale requests, which they were trying to sell their EOS at like over a couple $100, and that's what I bought them all at. It was like, I ended up losing like over $1,000, something like that. You know, not like the worst experience, but you know, it still kind of hurt. You know, I was like, hey, what the heck? This wasn't how things were supposed to go. I contacted them, and it was like, hey, sorry, there's nothing we can do. This is on the Ethereum main chain. There's no way to reverse it.
Crazy.
And, you know, we're trying to prevent those scenarios with what we're doing here.
Yeah, I like it, man. I understand you kind of have a plan to trade ETFs as well, which is something that we haven't seen on any DEXs before, at least on EOS anyway.
Yeah, we're really trying to move a lot of the world's financial infrastructure as availability through the platform itself. So, you know, moving into these very diversified type portfolios and bundles of different types of commodities and bonds and stocks and things like that. We want to offer that as a way for people to spread their assets out, not only into just cryptocurrencies, but also other types of marketplaces as well.
I like it. I think it's cool. It's a good idea. I'd like to see more of that in the future. What about Frost Gold? Right? You have a token called Frost Gold. How does that work, and what are the benefits of Frost Gold?
Sure. Yeah. So, Frost Gold is really a price stable asset, or what you'd call a market pegged asset. And the functionality of a price stable asset is that when users trade it into another asset, the trading ratio is fixed. For example, ideally, it's desirable to make sure that every single Frost Gold can be traded for exactly $1 or what is equivalent to $1 right now. Even if the US dollar goes up and down, we're at a consistent price backed by gold, right? So with Frost Gold, it's very similar to what you see going on with Tether, except instead of using USD as the derivatives market for the stability of the asset, we're actually using gold in this case.
That's cool. Definitely a little bit different, man, and neat. I think, I don't know, has that been done before, or is that new? Like, where'd you come up with that? There
are a number of different people and organizations working on projects to introduce gold into crypto. Carrots is another project working on that. I really haven't seen anyone do it on the level that we're planning to. We really want something that's on the level of like Tether, and
sure.
And something that people are confident about, and something that's transparent and fully auditable. We want people to really see, where the value of their asset is at. And so we're trying to keep that not only fully transparent, auditable, but up to compliance standards as well with Securities and Exchange Commission.
I love it. I do. Frost Gold, the stable coin. It's neat, man. How do you guys kind of allow an equal opportunity to new developers? So if somebody comes up and they want to get listed, are there barriers to entry, or how do you guys ultimately vet the tokens that you're going to be putting onto the exchange?
Yeah, so the barrier to entry on open source projects like TundraX, really it's up to the developer whether they want to jump on the project, learn what it takes to be a part of it or not. Anyone can roll up their sleeves, start learning, what it takes to develop smart contracts in C++ compiled into WebAssembly. And, if they're able to put together something that makes sense that everyone else can agree upon in that community, they're doing some work, And so we're really not trying to exclude people. We're really, an organization that does give equal opportunity.
I think it's important because there's a lot, like, let's get real here. Trying to get a token listed on certain exchanges can be difficult, right? And ultimately, there's some really good projects out there that would be nice to see supported, and I think that this is a cool idea, having something being able to be introduced into an ecosystem that has all the features that you guys are planning on introducing and still kind of, get to be a part of the community. I think it's important. I think it's important to make sure that the projects are good, make sure that they're solid, make sure they have good intentions, but also kind of create a barrier to entry that's acceptable and fair and works for everybody. So let's talk about the roadmap, right? And the release of the exchange. When am I going to be able to take part in this cool little community that you guys are building? When can I get on Tundra X?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've been working diligently on finding the right team right now to put together our MVP, which ultimately is going to begin as a airdrop exchange for EOS airdrop tokens. We hope to have that put together sometime around Christmas when we launched the airdrop.
Awesome. And then, of course, development from there. Like I said, the white paper is really cool, and I suggest people go and check it out. But in the meantime, I'm going to list all your links below, because I think what you're doing is cool. It's on EOS. It's got a bunch of really neat features. It kind of it doesn't go against the grain, but it's just it's a different way of doing things, and it's kind of it's a little beautiful little decentralized, you know, ecosystem with a bunch of things that I think are going to be super popular. Where can people come find you, Sky? If people want to talk to you about this, I'll make sure I post your Telegram. I know you're active there. That's where I found you. I'm going to post your website, but I know you're open to speaking to people as well. So where's the best place to get a hold of you, or where's the best place to find out more information?
Yeah, I would suggest anyone who's interested in learning more about TundraX, visit our website, www.tundrax.io. And yeah, there's links to the white paper there and our social media, of course, our Telegram feed. I'd say to learn more and to get involved with the team, asking questions, join our Telegram feed. We have a TundraX developer feed as well as TundraX community feed.
For sure. It's kind of funny because Telegram is, the only reason why I ever used Telegram was specifically for EOS. It's kind of like the pulse of what's going on in the world. And it's the kind of place that people can kind of come and chat to devs and really find out what's going on in the space, like one-on-one access, which is one of the reasons why I love it. It's one of the reasons why I finally got Telegram, and it's one of the reasons why I'll be on Telegram for a long time. I'll make sure that I post that link. I guess the last thing that I wanted to talk to you about was kind of funny, right? I always put together questions, and I always shoot them off before the interview. And I do that because I'm looking to just create like a reasonably smooth kind of discussion so everybody's kind of aware of what's being brought up and can take the time to think about some of these beforehand. But one of the funny things that I did here, and you actually mentioned to me, was I put the number 19 twice. And I thought that ties in really well with kind of the whole project. Do you want to break down why that might be?
Yeah, you know, it's really interesting to me because when I first got the questions, I actually handed them over to my girlfriend and said, "Hey, help me practice for this for a moment real quick." And she was the one that pointed it out. She said, "You realize there's 2 19s on here?" And I kind of was like, "Okay, that's cool. What's that even mean?" And she said, "You know, this is an angel number." And I'm someone who's fairly spiritual and definitely a believer in, you know, how numbers speak to us in all sorts of different ways. And when I looked it up, 1919 specifically means the end to a cycle and the beginning of a new. And when I read that, I just kind of chuckled and thought, oh, well, this must mean that the interview is ending soon. She said, "No, this is deeper. This is much deeper." And she started going off about, you know, an end to the old way of doing things and an end to the old system that everyone's been fighting for so long, and how this is the time now for something totally new and revolutionary. So that's really what I feel like it spoke about.
I think that's exactly what's coming with this thing. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you today. I thought that was kind of a cool note to end off on. So, Sky, I'm going to keep tuning myself. I hope everybody else does. And they should track you down on the Telegram and come and ask some questions, because this thing that you're building is it's a little bit of it's a beast, man. I'm looking forward to hopping on Tundra and checking it all out. Thank you, Matt. Yeah, pleasure being on the show. And yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to hit us up at TundraX. And yeah, thank you all. Much love. Pleasure. Much love right back. We'll talk to you soon, buddy. Ciao. All right. Take care.